bumper to officially start the conference. I think.
Every soul who stands before me has earned their place on the crew of the Dawn Treader. Together we have traveled far. Together we have faced adversity. Together we can do it again. So now is not the time to fall to fear's temptations. Be strong. Never give in. Our world, our lives depend on it. Think of the lost souls we're here to save. Think of Aslan. Think of Narnia.
For Narnia! And for us!
Great stories, Mr. Fuller. The ones that really matter. Full of darkness and danger they were. Sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad happened? Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. There's some good in this world, Mr. And it's worth fighting.
Psalm 62:5-6 says, "Yes, my soul, find rest in God. My hope comes from Him. Truly, He is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken."
My country was made for noble hearts such as yours, no matter how small their barrels be. In your world, I have another name. You must learn to know me by it. That was the very reason you were brought to Narnia. That by knowing me here for a little, you may know me better there.
Yeah.
Great job, Greg. Where you at?
Right over there.
Great job, Greg.
Well, hey, welcome to, like we said before, but first time for our friends on stream, welcome to the 2026 Nerd Culture Ministry Summit, put on by the Nerd Culture Ministry Collective and Nerd Culture Ministry Underground and Nerd Culture Ministry XYZAB123. We got a lot of things going on, but what we want to let you guys know is what is happening here at the summit. Now, the summit is going to be fairly intense. All right, we're going to be sitting down in workshops. We're going to be learning things from keynote speakers. You guys are going to have intentional time of community and sharing throughout the day, and we want you guys to engage in those. Don't wait for somebody to tell you what to do. Go and find people. Look around in this room right now. Go and find people to have lunch with, to have dinner with. Use all of their time. That's why they're here. They're here to talk to you about those things. So, Mark, what do we got going on? Well, we kicked off yesterday.
Yeah, so first off, if you came in last night, thanks for hanging out with us, even those of you who we led astray and took to a place we couldn't eat dinner at, and then ended up at Red Leg anyway.
Somebody almost ate there.
Somebody actually eat there? Someone, Stapes, who are you?
Did,
Yeah, you guys actually ate there? A couple people actually did. The rest of us ended up at Red Leg. So if you came in last night, we had a great time. Listen, one of the things that we did with NCMS this year is we condensed it, more concentrated into Tuesday, Wednesday, because we wanted to give room on Monday and Thursday for anybody who wanted to come in early or stay late to just be able to spend more time in relationship and conversation. So that's what we did last night. Hung out, played some games last night. The whole downstairs of Bighorn was hopping. It was awesome to see everybody playing games.
And it didn't smell bad. That was so cool.
It actually smelled great.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Actually, that's literally, I walked downstairs and somebody asked me, does it smell bad? I was like, actually, no. Amazing. I do. Yeah. Like, I smell bad.
Real proud of everybody.
I started my day at 3:20, and I did not shower until this morning, which was awful.
That's not even the most impressive thing. Tell people how many times you ate yesterday.
I ate 3 breakfasts before I even got to the castle. Yeah, amen. And one of them was 1,500 calories covered in sausage gravy.
I was not expecting applause for that.
It was
if
so
I'm being
good.
real.
Yeah. Okay, so what's going to happen today? Let's go over what today's going to look like. Today and tomorrow is going to look similar, but Bubba will give you some details about tomorrow and Thursday. So today, we're in main session number 1. Each morning, we're going to kick off with a little bit of worship. We're going to have our first keynote this morning. Chris Skaggs, where you at, Chris? Chris is going to speak here in just a moment, which is going to be really awesome. And then we're going to take a couple of moments and highlight some of our sponsors. Listen, one of the reasons that we have the sponsors that we have and the people that we brought in and the people that we highlight is because we know that, like, in this space, it can feel a little isolating and it can feel very alone in the larger church world. And we really want you to know that there are churches and organizations that are much larger than what you're doing and what we're doing, who care about us, who believe in what we're doing, and who are willing to come alongside you and help resource you and get you the help that you need to get things off the ground. And so we're going to be talking to one of those organizations this afternoon, and then we're going to be going to breakouts. Now, you might be a little confused about what those look like. There's 2 segments of them. There's an hour and a half with a half-hour break and then another hour and a half. Those are 3-hour-long workshops. We're intentional. Our keynotes aren't like more important than the workshops are. Those are working workshops. So show up in them prepared to do something. We wanted you to not just get information, we wanted you to practically do something. So you'll have an hour and a half, and then you'll have a break for lunch, and if you got lunch here at the castle, those box lunches will be ready to go. If you don't want to do that, you want to head off campus, or you got snacks with you want to eat, or I don't know, there's been way too much conversation about foot-long hot dogs in the Discord server from Costco, so whoever's making this
we should have 1,000 hot dogs.
Yeah,
so
if there's whoever's making this run for hot dogs, whatever you want to do.
Check your fridge. It's probably
and then there'll be another hour and a half, and you'll go back to that same workshop. So the 2 workshops today in this room is going to be Kenny Zhang. Kenny, where are you at? Are you? Oh, he's up there. He's working on his workshop right now. He's going to be leading one on practical AI, and so we're going to be 3 hours on like how can you actually use AI tools to better what you're doing, become more efficient in it. I think we're doing some live vibe coding too. Is that what it? Bring your laptops, your phone, whatever device you brought with you. Come here because you're going to be practically working and doing it. And then over in the bottom hall of Bighorn, so if you don't know where Bighorn is, if you exit the castle, it's the closest lodge to you, right up on the hill. In the bottom of that, there's a big room down there. We're going to be having Jamie and John. So John's back there. Where's Jamie at? Where'd you go? Jamie's here. Jamie Harris from Satellite Gaming. And
Nobody
John,
sat together.
John
this is
from
really
Reliant.
great, yeah.
They're doing 3 hours on fundraising and building a base of financial support to be able to actually do the ministry. I've been saying for a long time, the finances and the resources that you need to do the ministry are not locked behind the doors of your supporters or your followers or your viewers. They are locked behind the doors of the church. And one of the things that Jamie and John are really good at is helping people build a base of support that will actually allow you to do your ministry full-time and be able to go all in with it. So if you're working on fundraising or you're thinking about going full-time what you're doing, it is a really incredible opportunity and a workshop to be at. And then after that, we're going to be back in here for our second session. And tonight we have Butch Hartman who's going to be speaking, which we're really super stoked about. So that's going to be awesome. And then after that, tonight, we're going to have dinner not on campus. So go find some people to grab dinner with. I'm sure we'll have a group of people who are going to head out to Red Leg again if you want to meet us out there and hang out with us there. And then in the evening, board games and hanging out. But then also we have some D&D campaigns happening this evening, some one-shots. Raise your hand if you're running some RPG this evening. Okay, we got Giles, we got Pones, we got Kevin back here. There was another hand somewhere. Is Boots running one? You're running one too? Okay, yeah, let's go, Anton.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be running some D&D stuff. If you've already signed up for one of those, awesome. Just show up to where your email told you to show up. Where's it happening? Where is St. Bear? Where's the D&D happening?
Yeah.
Bighorn Lower. Yep, the same place where workshop for John and Jamie are going to be. Yeah, so that's what's going to be going on today.
Yeah, awesome. I know my second in command, Matt Warmbier, he brought a copy of Fairly Odd Parents for the GameCube to get Butch Hartman to sign.
Let's go.
So if you also have a copy for the GameCube, Butch would be more than happy to sign that for you. Tomorrow's going to look very similar. The only things that are going to really be different are the people in those different places, all right? So our keynote speaker tomorrow is going to be Brandon. Brandon, I just saw you. Where are you at? He's over here on the other side. Yeah, Brandon runs an organization, a community called Brainy Pixel. It's a studio that gets, well, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but they do a lot of really cool stuff. And if you are looking to break into that industry, of like actually doing things and creating things and having them be in places where other people will see them, you might want to talk with Brandon. And then we've got a couple of workshops as well in the Great Hall. Deadly Dill is going to be here talking about community. And I will gas him a little bit. Man, this guy is running one of the biggest and fastest growing Christian communities online. It happens in Discord, and he's going to share with you just a little bit of the secret sauce. Okay? I don't think you're going to walk away from those 3 hours knowing exactly how to do it, because he doesn't know exactly how to do it. But what we're doing is we're trying to bring people together that can help you move from ideation to actualization. And if you're trying to start a community, Deadly's going to help you do that. So that'll be right here in the Great Hall. And then also in Bighorn, lower, we got my guy Denver Moore and Jay Stu. If you are trying to break into media and content creation, or if you have been trying to break into media and content creation, can I get an amen in the room? You're going to want to be at that. It is his story to tell, who he works with and for and all sorts of stuff, but I promise you that you have heard of them. And so if you're trying to grow, these are the guys that you want to sit in and ask questions and learn from.
And at that workshop, if I'm correct, you guys are actually going to be pulling up. You don't need to give us names, but Denver, about how many subscribers over the channels that you oversee and help develop? How many subscribers are on those channels right now? Across all channels? Yeah. Tens of millions of subscribers across the channels that Denver does. So he's actually going to be pulling up 6 different YouTubes from the room, and he's going to be live critiquing and giving input on them over the course of those 3 hours. And that is a really valuable thing that people pay a lot of money for. So
it's going to hurt so good.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. You're going to love it. And then in the evening, we're coming back, and we're closing out with Caitlin Glass. And if you guys have never heard of her, you have heard her before. She's in literally everything you've ever watched, basically. Just get on her IMDb and you'll be like, oh yeah, she's that and that thing. She's going to be here, and some of you got to hear her at Reach Conference, and so she's coming back to share with us here. So be sure to come back and hang out tonight with us. And then our after dark stuff, we got Lux Service, and our very own Street Bear is going to be preaching. He doesn't want to say preaching. He was like dancing around it, guest lecturer, like, you know, fancy talking boy. He's preaching, he's bringing the word. And so you guys, Lux is usually completely digital. It happens in real life in Pennsylvania, but we're bringing it right here to you. So please come back and do that on tomorrow night. And then after that, almost immediately after that, we are going to be screening Jamie Harris with Satellite Gaming. He had a full-length documentary that was created through Focus on the Family. They came out and filmed a bunch of stuff, and we're going to be doing a screening of that. So you guys can kind of see more than a day in the life of, running a nerd culture ministry and a gaming ministry. So if you want to see a peek behind the curtain, stay after Lux and watch that. But if not, you guys can go back to, I keep calling it Little Bighorn. That's not what it is. Bighorn, lower. You keep going back to that. And we've got video games, we've got board games, we've got all kinds of stuff. And if you guys want to pull stuff out and play it, you're more than welcome to. But man, we have so many amazing things that are happening here at NCMS. If you have any questions, my name is Bubba, if we haven't met yet. I'm with Love Thy Nerd. This is Mark with Lux Digital Church. And we would love, love, love to answer any of your questions. And I cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am that you are here. Not because you're here at a thing that we created, because we can't take stock in any of that, but that you're here because God is calling you out of wherever you are and into something that is so much greater than anything you've ever imagined. Ever imagined. Sometimes we take for granted the story of Exodus because we've heard it so many times. That's the craziest thing that had ever happened up until that point. And they did it. And you guys are stepping out in all those things. So if we can help you in any way, we probably will not have the exact answer you're looking for, but man, we want to Google it right next to you, okay? So let's do this together. All right.
Yeah, we have a bump for Chris coming up.
Yeah.
So go
Give
ahead
it
and
up.
play that and invite Chris to the stage.
What if video games could do more than entertain? What if they could point people towards something greater? That's the question Chris Skaggs has been answering since 2005, when he founded Soma Games, a studio built on the conviction that great storytelling and deep faith don't have to be in competition. Called the C.S. Lewis of video games, Soma Games has built a reputation for crafting rich, meaningful experiences that explore courage, redemption, and wonder. From the lost legends of Redwall to their ongoing work in narrative designs, Chris has proven that independent studios can compete and lead without losing their soul. An Intel Black Belt recipient and sought-after voice at conferences like GDC and CGDC, Chris doesn't just make games. He mentors the next generation of creative professionals to integrate faith, integrity, and craft into everything they build. Through Soma Soulworks, that mission goes even deeper, investing in artists and entrepreneurs who want to tell stories that bring light into dark places. He's a developer, a mentor, a craftsman with a calling. Please welcome to the Nerd Culture Ministry Summit, Chris Skaggs.
By the way, who was the voice for that? I'm just curious. Were they in the room? I just want to say thank you for that. That was very cool. One thing that I like, this kind of a keynote is kind of a new thing, but so I'm looking for kind of an F sharp here. Whoa! Are we good? Just on the note? Okay, so then we're good. That's the keynote session right here. Okay, actually I have a quick technical question. I don't know if the slides are a thing, but I'm going to try to sling without it. You're waving. Maybe like 2 minutes. Take your time. Okay. Then let me start with a setup here. I'm going to tell you kind of where this story is going. It was 2011, and we had been making video games kind of on the iPhone for a couple of years. So Soma Games was technically founded in 2005, but really we hadn't got started until the iPhone came out in 2008. We'd made a couple of games for Intel or whatever. So just, like we're still really kind of finding our feet. And I got this phone call from a guy who's like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend sort of a deal. And he's like, hey, I'm making a movie, and I was wondering if you could make a video game. I'm told that you guys are believers. I'm told that you would kind of make video games, and I was hoping to make like a little tiny mobile game to go with this movie I want to make. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Like, if you got your money's green, man, that's cool. What's the game? What's the property? And he goes, well, it's this thing about like mice with swords, and they have adventures, and it's really cool. And I'd never heard of Redwall. And if you have it, it's kind of the sleeping giant that you don't know about. They've sold about 35 million copies. It's kind of a big deal, but I had no clue. I had no clue what this was all about. And I'm like, man, I'm sure that we could do something with that. When you get some money, like we'll do it, and we'll make a little mobile game. And I didn't really think much about it until the next day when my second in command, my good friend John Berquist, he writes me a quick email, and he says, I had this really weird dream last night where we were making this big-ass game for Redwall. And I'm like, that's weird. Because I just got a call from this rando who said he was wondering if we could make a game about Redwall. Next slide, please. And the truth of the matter was, like, I had no idea what it was. Like, that's kind of a weird little thing. And then in about an hour later, it comes up on the news that the author of Redwall, Brian Jakes, had just died. So quite literally, as Brian was passing, God rest his soul, my friend was having a dream about this big Redwall game. The day after, this guy had said, let's see if we can make this thing. And all connected to this was this awareness of, oh wow, like we're not in normal country. Now this is not Kansas anymore. Something is happening in the spirit that I need to pay attention to, that I need to understand, and the truth of the matter is I don't. That was a huge moment for us. And I have to say, like with our story with Redwall, that was a pivotal anchor point moment. This is where like things changed. From that point forward, things are different, right? And I have to remember that. Now, next slide, please. In the secret of this, and I want you to remember, back in the distance was this notion that there would be a movie. And so part of what was going on in our heads was like, if we could make a game about a movie, like a legit like studio movie, that would be pretty cool. That would be super cool, even if it was about talking mice with swords. And so it felt like this marketing opportunity. Now, that's not to say we weren't aware of the spirit, but we were also very aware, like, this is bigger than us. Like, this is over our head, and we knew it. So that kind of brought us to trying to understand what was going on in the world. Now, that's my setup. Now, I'll tell you just a little bit about what me, and I'm very grateful for the bumper, but I'll tell you a little bit underneath. When I got into gaming, it wasn't because I wanted to. Some people feel like they volunteer for the army of the Lord. Other people feel drafted. That was me. I was not into this. I mean, that's not to say I didn't play games, but I had no interest in the business. I wasn't planning to make one. But just one day, and if you'll allow for the brevity, God just says, thou art supposed to make games in my name, and go have fun with that. And it was this whole weird thing, and there's a big story on my website if you want to read it. But the truth is, I did not pick this. And so the whole thing has always felt kind of like poorly fitted to me. I've enjoyed it and everything else, but so much of what is going on is I feel like God's dragging me through the door backwards. That's kind of me. That's how I got into this space. So we started because we didn't know what else to do, but we're trying to follow the lead. And then as part of that, we have gone on and sort of we just keep making games for other people, and we just seem to endure, for lack of a better word. That kind of makes us veterans because everyone else is dead. So it's like a battlefield promotion as you go along the way. And then a while back, so I'll just tell you, like, because this is going to be important a little bit later, in 2021, as we were all coming out of the COVID, I felt like God asked me this really weird question. He says, like, what if you were the king of the games industry? What would you do? Now, I'm not going to go into that. There's a whole, like, literally, I give other speeches on that. But I just want you to, like, that started something that we call Imladris, which is our community of video game developers, people working in or adjacent to the industry who are also Christians. A lot like what you guys are doing, okay? But I want to say that the thing is, that's where my world is in the entertainment, right? So it's movies, films, books, that kind of stuff. And so I feel right now that I'm like, kind of like a visiting diplomat, right? So if you will allow, like from the kingdom of entertainment to the kingdom of faith, I'm very honored to be here. And I thank you very much. I get to tell my story to all you people because you're out there like spreading the word and stuff. Like I just make games about mice with swords. So I feel actually very grateful for that. Thank you. But that's really who I am and how I'm coming. Okay, back to the story, because it's not about me. After we got the deal going on with Redwall, there was a whole story about how that contract got signed, and it was this enormous deal. It's with Penguin Random House, and so there's like big people at the table. And next slide, please. I get this, next slide, please. And I get this letter from a guy who's in Afghanistan, because we have now posted our first blog post, like, oh my gosh, we got this cool thing. And I get this letter from the guy who writes on 4 pages in handwritten pencil on the back of his paper. He's a soldier out in the sand, and he's telling me about how much Redwall changed his life, about how much these books made him who he was, saved his life, like turned him into a person of faith and into a person of strength. And he's going on and on and on and on. And by the way, I'm so glad that you guys are Christians and you're going to handle it well. You're going to understand all the deeper meanings inside the story. You're not going to blow it up. I'm so glad. Thank you, thank you, thank you. By the way, don't fuck it up. And I'm like, oh, I see. So like previous to that point, what I had heard was, on the market side, this was a big deal. Like I could see that, a lot of books sold. Now I'm like, this is a big deal in the community, in the world, in people's hearts and minds and their souls. And I think what that did for me is it really helped me understand that there was a mission here that was bigger than just making a game. And the truth is it gave us a lot of sobriety. We're like, okay, like remember, like this is all set up for like, God made this thing happen. The guy died to like give us the license. There was so much like spirit, prophecy, things going on around this that we're starting to feel kind of a lot of pressure. And I think that becomes a really important part because as we moved into pre-production, there was a period of time from about 2011 when he passed to about 2015 when, you can imagine, he died literally like 3 days before our contract was supposed to be signed. And so there's a lot of dust in the air. We don't know what's going to happen here. So it just took a while for that all thing to sort it out. But in the meantime, we started pre-production. And we just started getting busy about making things, about doing like art, doing what was going to come next. And we started engaging with the fan base, right? So it's a blog post here, and this is really before Discord was much of a thing. And we started to gather some people around us. We started to have a couple talks, and we were having a great time. One of the things that we learned in that moment was that Redwall, in a lot of people's minds, was so influential and meaningful in their hearts that if they were like those super fans who like, if that guy's hat is brown, but in the book it's green, like you're busted, right? It's that kind of fan base, but they're not jerks about it. They're not Star Wars trolls who are like, you should have pushed a 7. It wasn't that. They were like, they wanted so much for this to come to life, and they were super helpful. So they were engaging us, they were talking to us, they were really, like, they were rooting for us, and that was so wonderful, and we were having a great time. So we were just throwing ideas out there. Now, at this point, there's really no funding, so it's just kind of like a slow burn in the back burner, but we're having a lot of fun, and we're making a lot of friends. But then, next slide, please, the storm came. And so here's what happened is we already knew that there was movement going on towards the movie. Well, what had happened in the meantime is the guy who actually called us in the first place had actually lost the deal. But because of a quirk in our license, his deal fell apart, but ours just kind of moved upstream into paying a Random House. So we still had a license, but there was no movie, but we knew they wanted one. So that's the condition what happens. And then what happens is, next slide please, there is a change of guard at Penguin Random House. And they get a new lawyer. And this girl is coming in because her job is to bust your chops. Her job is to get the best possible deal that she can. And so she starts peppering us with all these questions and all this weird stuff. It's like, how did you get this deal? I can't believe you're on. Who the hell is Soma Games? How did this tiny little shop in Newburgh, Oregon get this big old IP? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just here, right? I have no idea how any of this happened. But all of a sudden, it's like this 800-pound gorilla is looming over you. And on top of that, there's other big studios who have caught wind that they want a movie, like big studios that you would hear of. And they're advocating for this, and they don't want this stupid little game studio messed up in the license. And so they start throwing a lot of shade our way. And so it becomes this notion of how did you get this license? How did you deserve it? And they're picking every little thing out of our contract, anything they can find to get us out. In fact, at one point we heard after the fact that the movie studio was like, we will pay you gazillions of dollars, Penguin Random House, if you can get this stupid little Christian video game company out of the mix. And I don't care how you have to do it, just get it done. And that was the threat, right? So this comes to us and says, you really shouldn't have this license, and we're going to take it from you whether you like it or not. And the notion here isn't even that we had done anything wrong or anything else. It's just we will just spend you into oblivion because we have 1,800 lawyers on retainer all the time, and you don't. And so this is the threat that we hear going on in our story. In the middle of that, we're freaking out, as you can imagine. Now, it's not as if we're invested millions of dollars in this, but we have hung a lot of our hopes on it. And we have got a lot of people who are really rooting for us. We have made a lot of friends. The ball is rolling here, and we see this start, we're going to lose it all. And then on the side, we have this little side chat that says, by the way, we could make this easy for you. We'll give you any other property that Penguin Random House owns, any other one, free license, no money, no nothing. We'll just give it to you. Just get out of this thing. Just walk away. And we're like, I don't know what to do. And then I had a dream. Go ahead, next slide, please. This is a true story. This is, frankly, how I do business. By the way, I think that he's getting stoned in this picture, but I think it's a cool painting. But anyways, so in this dream, and this is in the midst of great turmoil. I'm barely sleeping. You're eating Tums for breakfast. It's this kind of thing. And all of a sudden, there's this dream in which I'm in my car. I'm in my little Jeep. And somehow, all of the studios, there's about 8 other people. They're all in the back seat, whatever, because dreams. And we're driving towards my mom's house. And in this dream, all of a sudden, there's the Concorde, 2 big Concorde jets. They rush into each other, and they slam into each other, and they bust apart into flames. Now, here's what also happened in the dream. One of the Concorde planes was actually a plane, and so it gets a little bit wounded, there's some smoke, but it keeps going. The other plane turns out to be made of balsa wood, and so all of a sudden it just disintegrates, and there's flaming debris and all of this but wood chips are falling all around us. There's all this business going on, and we're just cruising along, but in the moment, we just cruise through it, and nothing happens, and we arrive home. And when I woke up, long story short, I felt like God was really clear, just saying it's going to be okay. Let the giants fight with each other. You're going to be fine. And so the next day we tell Penguin Random House, we're not going anywhere. I know that's terrifying, but we think that we have a good deal. We think that we should keep it. And within 2 or 3 days, the big movie studio that was supposed to push us out of the thing, they blew up, they imploded, they lost a bunch of other contracts, including this one. And it had nothing to do with us. All we had to do was wait. And again, we hear the news back from PRH, and they're these guys, they've walked away from the table, I guess we're up back okay. And again, this was a moment where I'm thinking, this somehow is bigger than us, and I don't know what's happening. Next slide, please. So I see here inside this whole legal organization, there's this big civil war between stuff that we've got nothing to do with. These are the two jets that wind up like wounding each other. One of them is completely destroyed. One of them is a little bit wounded. And I realized like this is literally what's happening in this dream. The other thing that happened is as they came back to the table and they're going over our contract again, they're like, all right, fine, you win. By the way, how many games do you plan to make? And I'm like, what? Because I thought we had one game. It turns out that way back in the day, our lawyer had added an S. It was games in the license. And in all of the mess, that was a weird thing. It's like, and in our minds, we're like, we would like to make games. We would like to make multiple games. Like, that would be fun. But that wasn't what I thought was happening in the license until she's like, well, how many games is included here? And I'm like, 6? And she's like, fine, right? and I'm like, I can't believe that. So all of a sudden, what had become like a total disaster awaiting to happen had suddenly become a multiplier. It was like loaves and fishes, man. It was like all of a sudden, like there was this opportunity to do something that was so much cooler. And that was a huge lesson again, like God was in this thing. Now, next slide. Remember, now all of this came around the idea of a movie because we imagined the movie to be the coattails that we were going to ride on. We've always been thinking like this is what's going to happen. We're going to make a game and there's going to make a movie and we're going to have like millions of dollars of free advertising. So this is always in our mind. So anyways, at that point, next slide, please. We just get busy because now it's real. Now it looks like it's settled. And so we just start chopping. And that meant that we went to a Praxis Business Accelerator. We got some investors. We had some people behind us. And pretty soon we've gone from a team of like 4 to a team of about 50 at one point. And we're making like 3 games in parallel. And we're having a lot of fun, but kind of the wheels are coming off. So like I'll happy to tell you about some reflections on pre-production, or I should say on the production studio. But we really had a lot of fun doing that. And it was so great to see all the ideas come across and all of the iteration and all of the brainstorming and all of the writing. One of the funnest things in my life was being able to write the script for that first Scout episode and then hearing voice actors bring it to life. Like it was bananas to see that. And it just brought the whole thing to life. So much great art, so much great music. I met so many people. It was like a circus, but it was a fun circus. And I think that I look back when that was about 5 or 6 years that we were in solid production for different games. And it just seems like it didn't know quite where to stop. Next slide, please. In the end, we wound up making 4 games. The Scout, which was kind of a 3D adventure game on console and Steam. We made The Lost Legends of Redwall, which is a narrative fiction game. We made the Feast and Friends, which is a cozy cooking game. And we made Escape the Gloomer in association with Scott Adams, which is kind of an old school narrative adventure. And it was a gas. It was so much fun. And we stretched ourselves in ways that sort of like in the morning, like I should not have stretched myself that way. But it was really something to behold. I could tell a lot of stories about production, because there's years and years worth of story in there. But what I can say is it felt all along, like even though we were feeling like it was busy, it was late, there was stress, there was all this kind of stuff, it felt all along that God was in that with us. And we always were looking back to the stories of like how we got here, about the dream that John had to get the license at all, the dream that I had to stay in the fight when we had to lose. Like we knew all of the little providential pieces that were bringing it together. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you have those stories, those providential pieces, do not ever forget them. Like frickin' write them on an Etsy poster in calligraphy that's 8 feet wide and stick it on your wall. Do not forget those things because those are the calls. Those are the calls that you cannot forget, and they will get you through the dark times. We're talking about Exodus, right? Like, it seems like the moment you're done crossing the Red Sea, all we hear is, oh, they forgot, or they forgot, or they forgot, or they forgot. And God's like, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. Like, don't forget all of the great miraculous stuff that happened, but they do. Like, it is our way to forget these things. It is our way to lose track of the picture because we keep imagining it's going to happen tomorrow. We keep imagining that the promised land is like next door, and it almost never is. Like even if it is next door, you're going to take 40 years to get there. So like keep those moments of providence. You have to keep them. What did I just say? Keep them. Okay. Like this is actually really part, and that's probably one of the first lessons. I want to say like from a lessons learned. Next slide, please. That's actually one of the things, like you have to keep those lessons. And I didn't put this up here, but that's probably the biggest thing, is if we had not kept track of God's providence, we would have lost the scent, we would have got scared, we would have run the other way. We would have expected that, well, God's plan, if it's God's plan, it's easy, right? We should be skating, man. But it's not that way at all. It's never that, well, maybe sometimes, I don't know, I've never seen it. But I think it's almost never that way. So I will tell you, like, some things that we learned through production is like, you really, really got to stay humble. And that means that comes across in so many different ways. But I want to say something, especially about the notion of onward. Humility doesn't mean like, I'm a worm, I can't do anything, I'm not good enough. That's not humility, that's just stupid. What that is that you've given into the way that the enemy sees you. That's given into the way that the world wants to see you. And that's not humility. That's false humility. Humility has to be the idea is like, what did God call me to do? So like when you're Joseph and you're humble, that means that you speak the truth to the king. But you also speak the truth to the baker. It means that you understand the gifts that God's given you, the place that he's put you in, and that you stick to that, not because you're all that, but because he said, go there. That humility has to be how you treat your work, how you treat your ministry, how you treat the people you're working with. Humility always has to be in that like lower seat at the table kind of a thing. And we had to learn that was super critical to Redwall because Redwall wasn't ours. Like in the end, like our job was to steward something that was precious and beautiful and glorious to millions of people who didn't know us and frankly didn't care. Like they wanted Redwall. Because for them, Redwall was an image of heaven. Redwall for them was a place of abundance in the midst of tragedy. It was a place of life and fun and music when there's rats pounding at the doors. Like Redwall was something so precious in those people's lives that just so long as Soma treated Redwall with respect and dignity and didn't try to reboot it or make it our own or any of that, that's what they wanted, and that was our humble service to the IP. That was really, really good. The other thing that I think that we learned is that you have to make room for and be expecting epiphany. You have to look for those places where I never saw that coming. God's going to bring something from the side that you did not plan for, could not plan for, and don't want to plan for. You have to be open to that like extra thing, which call it the Holy Spirit if you want, call it epiphany or serendipity, call all those fun words, but be open to it. And I don't just mean that like as a sidebar. I mean, literally have a place in your schedule, in your space, that is literally open for epiphany, because God will fill that space in crazy ways. So for us, as an example, in some weird day, I think I'll write a song. I've never written a song. I have no idea how that works, but I was sort of inspired to write a song for the game, and so I just sort of wrote out this poem. And I shared it with a buddy of mine who's like, I could do something with that. And next thing you know, there's a cat with a 27-string guitar busting out this incredible song, and some other guy who I've never met who's vocalizing the whole thing. And pretty soon we've got the theme song for the first episode of The Scout. And I get to be a songwriter. Like, it's pretty crazy. That whole experience around the song led us to meet with Keith Medley and Bill Russell and so many other people who they just saw a piece of something and then they added something we'd never asked for. Bill turned out to be another incredible thing because we hired him eventually just to do the voice of the monster, Scum Snout, who wasn't supposed to have any lines. The idea was he was just like that's what we hired him to do, but he just started making lines up. And so we'd be getting his lines, he'd like, I'm gonna eat your liver, right? And he had all this stuff going on, we're like, this guy's fantastic. And so we literally had to write a whole new role for him just for that character. And then over the course of the whole thing, we wrote 3 others because other people just started giving all these voices and conversations to the rats. So the rats are supposed to be running around basically saying the kind of like, I wonder what's over here. I guess it's nothing. Like stupid NPC stuff was what they were supposed to be doing. But all of a sudden people are saying like, do you think there's anything going on at Clooney's house tonight? Right? And pretty soon we're like, this is so much fun. And we wrote instead of 0 dialogue for the rats, we went up about a third of the dialogue. It's actually rats. That if you don't pay attention and just hang out with them and listen from the shadows, you'll never hear it. But they have relationships, they have friendships. There's one guy in love with a girl and she's like making fun of him. Like there's so much fun stuff that you would never get to see if it wasn't for all the characters and the actors. And we had to be open to that epiphany. I think the other thing that, and this is probably where we need to do a better job, is you have to stay focused. And I will say, like, the challenge, especially with focus that is so difficult, often is money. So in our case, the notion was, it's that the temptation is to go do other jobs, is to take paying work, because in the meantime, like, funding is always hard in anything. And with Redwall, we could just never quite raise the money that we needed to keep going. So you're always kind of winging a prayer, shoestring stuff. So the temptation was always to lose focus. Well, if we can get some money over here, we'll put it over here. And that was a mistake. I think there's bigger mistakes, but still, like, it was a mistake. You are so much better off to stay focused, even for a short time, to see that thing through than to kind of dawdle it out and get diluted. So I think when you know your mission, when you know your call, when you know your ministry, you own that. Like, stay in that lane and really crush it. That will really help everything go so much smoother. So I think that was a couple of things that we learned along the way. Next slide, please. But there are some other things that I think were even better, that turned out to be really life lessons. The first is start small. We had built the Scout, which is basically, 15, 20 hours worth of dialogue and content and everything else. We built that first. And we built Feast and Friends, which is a cozy little cooking game, last. I wish we would have flipped that. I wish we would have flipped it for the reason that we just bit off way more than we could chew because we were excited. And I will tell you, like, I don't know if this happens in your space, but certainly in every game developer, like, the moment they get out of college or high school or whatever else, they're like, I'm going to make Mass Effect. Like, they imagine that they're going to make the best, hugest, monstrous game, and and they think, oh my gosh. And now in the ministry, or rather, I should say in the Christian perspective, you add to that, and God told me to make Mass Effect. So, like, now you have all this weird stuff where there's, like, all this pressure to do the biggest possible frickin' thing, and it's a disaster. It is almost always a disaster. Start small, learn that thing that you're really good. Start your flywheel, get the stuff moving. What you're talking about, fundraising, Jamie, or all that kind of stuff, like, start in that space that you know that you can deliver, that you know you can build your audience, that you know that you've got your system and your flywheel. Like, get small and let size come when it comes. This is sort of the equivalent of taking the lowest seat at the table. Like, take the lowest job in the space. Do the little thing and get good at it. And presume, maybe I should say, like, have faith, that someone who's good at their skills will serve before kings. Like, let it come. Let the Lord bless you in that space. And that's what I wish that we had done with regard to our work. We should have started small. I mean, literally, we have this ridiculous God-given license for 6 stupid games that we were literally never even able to take advantage of. So we had all the time in the world. We weren't in any hurry. But that led to the second thing, is like, we were in a hurry. And we kept thinking, like, we got to get it out there. We got to get there. We got to start making some money. We got to start making some people. Like, we're going to break through and get the Oscar of gaming. We should have never rushed. We should not have rushed the game. We should not have rushed our team. We should not have rushed our market. That was just a mistake. And again, it's a stupid rookie mistake. Like, I don't think we were in sin or anything. But in wisdom, we should have done that just differently. And probably in this space, there's all about, like, have you found your audience? We would talk about, have you found the fun? Like, that becomes a really critical aspect of any game, is no matter what you think it looks like on paper, until it's fun, then you're not there yet. So that would have been a huge thing. It's like, don't rush what you're doing. Allow God to feed into that. Allow God to reward your work. And sometimes that's going to be a while. Sometimes the pieces that have to come into your life, the pieces that have to come into your sphere of influence, those are just going to take time. Because remember, if you imagine that everyone in here is under the influence of God to a greater or lesser degree, I want you to think about all the people to a lesser degree. They're slow to the table. And if God's like, I need you to work with him, but you're like, I got other things, then for you to wait for him is actually the wise thing. Because he's off doing Zelda, man. Now, you'll get there. You'll get there. But you have to wait for that thing to happen. Like, give it time, give God time, give your other brothers and sisters the time, and that will pay off so much more. Lastly, is that, in this slide anyways, is to count the cost. It's remarkable, I think, in my space, how many projects start with really very little planning. Because it just seems like, this is a cool idea, we'll figure it out as we go. That happens all the time. And it doesn't matter if that's like a one-person shop or if it's like a 5,000-person shop. Like, it is a temptation to like, get it out there. We're going to have so much fun. And that is a overbalance on what needs to happen. And it imagines too much on Epiphany, right? Because what the word also says is you count the cost. And so that becomes really important. It's like, just take the time to have a plan. To plan your ministry, to plan your outreach, to plan a timeline. Like, and I don't even know in your world what that's going to look like. So by this date, I want to have so many viewers. I'm not exactly sure what the right metrics would be, but you know what I'm talking about. Have a plan, measure the plan as you go, and allow God to move in that faithful space too, because he wants you not only to have revelation, which he does, he also wants you to have wisdom. The thing is, we need both. If you're ever outside of either of those, and we've missed a really important, it's like walking around with one leg, like you need wisdom and revelation. So I think we were pretty strong with Redwall, the revelation stuff, like the dreams and the visions and the providence, like that was all pretty strong on the revelation stuff, but we didn't take time for wisdom. And there were people advising us like, slow your roll, brother. And we're like, but Redwall and Jesus, right? And so we were not really willing to hear the slow down message, but we really should have. And I think in the process, we frankly burned money, we burned people, we burned opportunities that we didn't need to. It turned out just to be folly. So I would really recommend that you count the cost. Thank you very much. And then, next slide. I think the biggest thing that I've learned, if you don't know Redwall, it's actually a lot like this place. It's actually pretty remarkable. Like, this castle is like Redwall Abbey. So it's a big castle. It's an abbey that all the good woodlander creatures like to come inside and have lunch. And at the same time, all the bad vermin creatures always want to take it over and turn it into a fortress. And yet, no matter how many like raging rats and demon werets and stoats and all these things, no matter who's pounding at the gate, the Redwallers always want food. They always stop in the middle of battle for a break, for fellowship, for pie. It is never about your product. It's never even about the war. It's about the human hearts around you. It's about the people that you meet. It's about the souls that connect with you, because no matter what happens on this earth, brothers and sisters, it is not eternal. Like, you've heard this quote, I'm sure, like, no one in this room is a mere mortal. We are all eternal creatures. And so what Redwall taught me was like, it's always, always about the people and about the food. And about the food. It's about celebration. It's about community. It's about life and life to the full. And not only do the books teach that, but this experience taught me that. Is you have to see how often, I think once you're on a mission, it's easy to see the people around you as a resource. It's easy, like, what can this guy help me with? How can that woman, promote my brand? How can I get more viewers? Or whatever. Like, we all become sort of problem solvers. And it's too much that we miss the people, and yet Jesus, like the king of the frickin' universe, was always about people. He's on his way to the temple. It's like, oh, just a second, I got to talk to this lady. He was always doing that kind of stuff. Never forget that, and you'll be all right. You'll sail straight if you remember it's always about the people. All right, so that's roughly the story of Redwall, and I'm happy to go into as much detail as you'd like at another time. Next slide, please. But here's what's next for us. And this is actually brand new news. I don't know if you guys ever saw a game from a couple years back called the Etherlight. I heard some hoot. Thank you. The Etherlight was a fantastic steampunk MMO game made by an outfit down in New Zealand. It probably launched, I want to say, as like 2017-ish, somewhere in there. And it was a beautiful, well done, excellent example of a Christian group making a faith-adjacent property. So in Etherlight, you run around and basically it's the gospel told, but in an allegory. Really well done game, kind of tween age base. And they spent about 8 million New Zealand dollars on it. So what's that? Probably about 4 or 5 American, and something like that. So it's like it was a legit budget. And they did a great job, but as a lot of companies do, but the marketing's hard. And talking with no shade thrown, they would say, like, We also spent more money on product when we should have spent more money on marketing, but whatever. The point is they ran out of money back around 2018, and then the thing was gone. And I will just say, like, that is a tragedy for all of us because it is a really excellent example. However, as of just a couple of weeks ago, they have donated that entire property to our nonprofit. Like everything, lock, stock, and barrel, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, I don't know, it's maybe not the same as Redwall, but it's the same as Redwall. Because of the lessons I just told you about, like what I learned through Redwall, which is to say, like, this is a stewardship opportunity for us. And to be clear, this wasn't donated to my private company, Soma Games. This was donated to our nonprofit, Imladris. So this is a community property of our nonprofit. And it is a stewardship opportunity that I am so glad that I learned that frickin' lesson. And to be completely honest, I had not thought this through until I was making this slide deck. That the analogs, the parallels between how this thing has come together and what is before us right now actually echoes so much of what is going on with Redwall. There was the providence, there was the dreams, there was the fascination of like what's going to happen next. There's the existing community that loves this freaking property like you wouldn't believe. And there's always the opportunity for us to screw it up. Lord willing, we won't. But now we had to learn some things, and I think that there's exciting stories to be told here. That's what's next, I think, on my plate, and I want to do it well. I want that thing for Christ to be there and says like, well done, but not good and faithful servant. That's what's weird for me. But if he says, well done, yo, that would feel better. Well done, dog. You killed it. That would be great. So, okay, now all of that is a story about making a video game. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I want to say like, but what does it have to do with you? What does it have to do with you? NCMS. Like I said earlier, I feel as if I am a diplomat from another sphere. I feel like I'm coming to this place from a different world. And I want to ask a question. So from the sphere of entertainment to the sphere of faith, what can we do to help you? And I mean this really honestly. Because Imladris started with the question, we're like, I don't want to go out there and just start saying I know what's going on. I want to ask the question, what can we do for the world? So I want to ask, what can the community of Christian game developers, because I'm the king of all of them, I think Alex would agree, what can we do for you? What can we do? And I want you to tell me, and I want you to write me and send blog posts or whatever it is, like show me what you need. But I'm going to ask back is like, what can you do for me? What can the kingdom of faith do for the kingdom of entertainment? And I think in that regard, next slide, please. I think in that regard, like the easiest answer is like visibility, like be known. You would be surprised how many people in my community feel desperately alone, feel utterly unseen. How much do they feel as if God called them to make video games, and yet they can't go anywhere. They can't go to their secular job and say, I'm a Christian, because they're like, you're fired. And they can't go to their church and say, like, I make games, because they say, you're going to the hell. And so, like, there's all this weirdness in the middle, which I'm sure you all know exactly what I'm talking about. But if for the folks in my industry, on top of that, they just feel very, very isolated and alone. None of their work is ever seen or appreciated. And so just the notion, I remember it was actually Jamie who crashed my party one day. And he started making me think about, like, have you ever talked to the players? And I'm like, who? Like, I had done, I was so focused, again, I was so focused on my thing, I had not thought about, I guess people actually play games too. Like, so that idea of just the community around nerddom, around games, around movies, around all that stuff, like, it was a huge, like, this is a piece I've been missing. So, like, we would just love to know you. We would love to reach out. We would love to build relationships with you, either individually, as studios, as a community. That would actually mean the world to us. But let me ask a different question. We are kings and queens of two different spheres under the High King, right? So what do we do together? What do we offer the world? How can we together help the world? Next slide, please. What does the world need from you and from us today? And I really want you to focus on the today thing, because it's not a generic question. It's not a like in the multitude of possible worlds, what's out there? What does the world need today? And also, what are we offering? Are we giving the world what they actually need, or are we only giving them what we think we want to give them? I hope it's not the second. I hope that we aren't so myopic in the way we imagine this is how it gets done. This is how it's always been done. This is how we do the thing because someone else did the thing. I hope we never get in that spot where we're so closed off that we're not listening to the call of their hearts. And I'm talking here about the lost. I'm talking here about this world that is suffering, and that has always been suffering, and that Jesus has always been reaching out to them. Are we giving them what they're asking for? Next slide, please. Right now is a different part in history than it has ever been before. And I don't mean that as some kind of hyperbole, because every point in history is different. So what's happening right now? When you hear about Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you hear about the way that they interact with stories. You hear about the way that they're like desperate for authenticity, and yet Be Real like fell apart in about 8 months. Like they're desperate to know the truth, and they don't know where to find it, and you have it. That is something that is a remarkable opportunity. It is a responsibility. It is a stewardship for you because you hold the words of life. What does the world need from you now isn't only the words of life, but it's also how you speak the words of life. Knowing that you are here right now and what is unique about this moment will change everything. Next slide, please. If you remember Aragorn had different parts in his story, and I'm so glad you opened with Lord of the Rings because that's like all about me. Aragorn starts his story where he's like, you can barely see him with his hood. He's got a pipe. He's hanging out in the prancing pony, and you don't even know who he is. He's not even going by his real name. And I want to be clear, like that wasn't a failure. That was appropriate for the moment. That was what was required in that moment. That was the plan. Now, I don't think you see this in the movie as much, where he's like, oh, I'm so angsty. But in the book, he's like, no, this is the right thing because I know exactly what I'm doing right now. And for a while, it's to hide. For a while, it's to stay like under the radar. But there comes a point where it's time to fight. And he looks Sauron in the eye, and he's like, come get some. Right? Come at me, bro, and I'll show you where I'm going to be. I'm going to be right in front of your black gate, and we're going to throw hands. That was right for that moment, and he knew it. And you know what changed? It wasn't him. It was the circumstances around him. All of a sudden, what was important in that moment was that Frodo and Sam were behind enemy lines, and we needed to get the armies off their backs. That was important for the moment. And then later on, we see him. He is now crowned the Prince of Glory. And he says, like, no one bows to the hobbits because he's humble. He's a man of peace. That also was the right time, the right place. So, where are you? Where are we right now? As we said for this conference, like the theme is onward. Onward from where? Onward to where? These are critical questions. And I really want you to think about it. The risk is to kind of think about it. The risk is to say like, well, I thought about that last week and I don't know, I got bored, right? I had other things because now I know what I already thought my plan was. I already thought I knew. But let me tell you something. Next slide, please. There are things that we can offer the world that the world cannot offer itself. There are things that we bring from the kingdom of heaven, the sense, the tastes, the feel of heaven, that can never come from the world. You, my brothers and sisters, are sons and daughters of Eden. You bring the scent of heaven with you everywhere you go if you allow it to happen. You are the temples of the living God in this place, and that is no small thing. But when the temple became ingrown and it was only about like preaching the word to the people who already knew the word, it lost its salt, it lost its light. I want to propose to you that where we are in this world right now, as crazy ass as this world really is right now, they need things like unity. They need to know that no matter what happens, whether you hate Trump or love him, it's not about that. It's about love. It doesn't matter if it's about overseas or in season. It doesn't matter if it's about Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. It doesn't matter if it's about all of these other things that want to pull your eye to politics. It's not about that. It's about love. And that where we can show the world what's different is unity in a world that is dominated by polarization and division. And I mean that really clearly, like look at the people around you and refuse to be divided. We are family. We are family in eternity, and we have to make that choice. I don't want to say that those things are unimportant. Don't hear me the wrong way. Like I'm not saying that politics don't matter. I'm not saying that doctrine doesn't matter. I'm not saying that any things don't matter. I'm saying what the world is asking for right now is unity, and we can give it to them. We can show them what unity looks like in a way that no one else ever could because we bear the heart of Christ. Let me tell you another thing that can happen. It's like we are in a post-Christian world. Now, what other people are calling this is the age of re-enchantment. So it used to be that we were, back, think about when C.S. Lewis was talking, like he was all concerned about the atheists, right? There was so much like this rise of Western secularism. That's done. Like if you don't know, if you haven't been watching the demographics, where we are now is like people are talking about aliens again. And that's not creepy, that's not fringe, that is like in frickin' Congress. People are talking about demons, people are talking about witches, people are talking about magic. This world is being re-enchanted as we speak, and that is an enormous opportunity for us because we are the kings and queens of that magic. We know the deep magic in the way that none of those people have any idea what they're ever talking about. We have a chance, you have a chance, I think, as ministers of the word, I have a chance as ministers of imagination to help categorize what is going on in this crazy world again. Because no one in that secular world will ever know the difference between a demon and an alien. They don't know the difference, but you do. They don't know the difference between what's good magic and what's life-giving miracles. They don't know the difference, but you do. We can give them wonder in an age that is dull beyond repair, based on evolution and the idea like nothing matters, but you can tell them the truth. You are ministers of that truth in a way that no one else is. You know, let me tell you another thing. For all of the availability of mental health services, for all of the pills, for all of the counselors, we are at a desperately low level of hope in our country. And I think probably the world, I just don't know the statistics. It's things like suicide, it's things like disability, it's things like I can't get out of bed because I'm so depressed and anxious. We are desperately longing for hope in this world. You have hope. You can show hope to the world. And what the world doesn't need to see, I think, is a whole lot of like Christians talking amongst themselves about Christian things. They need to say like, I have hope. Yeah. Come on in and get a sandwich. Yeah. Right? Come on in away from that world and come in and see what life looks like. See what it looks like to be brothers and sisters in Christ, breaking bread together, because you can be a part of that too. Like I said, Imladris was based on this idea of Christians working in the video game space. I was at GDC a couple of weeks ago, and this guy came up to one of our lunches, and he's like, I'm not a Christian, but I'm a Buddhist, and you guys seem nice. Can I have lunch with you? And there was a part of me that for a moment was like, but I got to protect my tribe. There's a part of me just for a moment that was going to say no, but then I was like, what are you, crazy? Like, this is literally the thing you've been praying for. So, of course, we bring this guy in. Of course, like, come and have noodles with us, man. And all of a sudden, Ethan is realizing how much that he grew up in the faith. He grew up with all this stuff, but he got a lot of church hurt. Somewhere in his story, and I don't know the story, he got wounded. And it wasn't that he hated Jesus, it's that he hated, maybe that's the wrong word, he feared believers. We cannot be the people who become ministers of fear. And you've ever heard this idea, like it had to move from my head to my heart? You ever heard this story? That is the story of modernism. That's the story where we overworked on doctrine, on principle, on knowing the right things, on reading the right books, on saying the right stuff. And so people then have to go like, okay, I believe the right things, but I don't feel it in here. There's a different way. If you bring people to their heart, they'll figure out the doctrine. Let the Holy Spirit show them what's right. And I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying like we are in an age where people need heart and hope. And you are so well equipped to do that beautiful thing in this world. Next slide, please. There could be a place where people who are outside the church and have questions, that they feel welcomed in the church because we're all about, like, wherever you are, wherever you come from, I don't care. Like, bring in your Satanism, bring in your Buddhism, bring in your atheism. Like, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of your sin getting on me because grace is more powerful than that. I'm not afraid of the woolly boogers because we know how to deal with that stuff. Deliverance, healing, health, we can do all that because that's what we do here, man. This is our bread and butter. This is what the kingdom of God looks like right here. Right. There's a place where people who are nerds don't get characterized unfairly or fairly as isolated, as anxious, as all alone. There could be a place where this is like a community built around a shared passion, and not just us, but like the world says, like, let's have fun together. Let's have life and joy and fun together. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And wouldn't it be interesting if we had a world in which nerddom wasn't imagined and stereotyped as being primarily isolated, but in fact it was understood as primarily social and communal and beautiful together, like the kingdom of God? Wouldn't that be a different world? I told you a minute ago that you are the sons and daughters of Eden. You need to know this. You need to get that into your soul and never let it go. But let me also remind you, don't you know that you're going to judge the angels? Don't you know that you're going to judge the world? This is not a little thing. 2 Corinthians, when I first read that in a way that I heard it, I was like, I did not know that. No one ever told me that. Oh my gosh, like, what do you mean I'm going to judge the world? What do you mean the saints are going to judge the angels? That's bananas. It's right there. The moment, my friends, is sober. The opportunity is immense. But I know that you're up to it. I call you out into this place to be bold, to be full of love, that there's nothing to hold you back. And I call you onward. Ta-da!
Thank you, Chris, for sharing with us. We give a round of applause for Chris one more time. Hey, is this on? Yeah. I know that we're close on time and we need to head out so that we can head to workshops this morning. But before we do that and we head to bathrooms and things, I'm going to ask John, would you come up real quickly with us? John works with Reliant. He's one of our partners here and also one of the sponsors for Nerd Culture Ministry Summit. So you guys give a round of applause and welcome John up.
Oh, right on. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to talk just for a moment about some of the stuff that Reliant does and then encourage you to connect with John before he has to leave us today, which is sad, to go to a swamp in Florida, which is all of Florida.
Basically.
Okay, John, do me a favor. Tell us really quickly, several people who've been here before know what Reliant does, but can you tell us a little bit? I always say that Reliant is the home for homeless missionaries, but you probably have a better way of putting it than I do.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on the website. It'll be
Okay.
good. We come alongside and help people who need to raise support, so raise financial support to do the work that they need to do. And we can train and coach on how to do that, as well as handle all the kind of really complicated systems on the back end to not help the government get mad at you, pay your taxes, those sorts of things. We can help on the back end of that as well. So coming together, really, our heart is to help make more ministry happen and be sustainable. And then we do a lot of things, but that's the basics. Help you raise money and help you not get in trouble with the government while you do it.
Yeah. What I love about what Reliant does is when I talk to people in this space a lot, what I hear is a lot of like, how do I get more Twitch subs, right? So I can make $2.50 a month off of somebody. How do I get more YouTube members, right? So I can make $5. How do we get more Patreon members? I can make $10 a month. And what we're daydreaming about is like, how can I scrape together enough to eat ramen? And what I love about the conversations, once you start having them with Reliant, is you start asking, how can I invest in a retirement fund and have a salary where we can afford a mortgage and a home for my family? How can I be setting myself, how do I not, because what many people who come into this space, especially if you're younger, really honestly, in your 20s and 30s, and what you don't recognize is pausing your life to try to pursue something like this in your 20s and 30s without having any look towards your future. You're not just hitting pause in your 20s and 30s, you're also pausing your 40s, 50s, 60s. And so it's so important when we're coming into this that we're having the right conversations and pursuing things in order to have pursuing these areas of ministry that are super cool and innovative and fun, to have those things also be able to build a future for us and for our families. And John, what else? Tell me a little bit about the workshop that you're going to be doing here with Jamie in a minute.
Yeah, totally. And I'll add one really quick thing here just to do it. And like that is like there is some of these financial things, but I don't know who here loves raising money and talking about money with people. Yeah, there's always a few. There's always a few, which is great. The rest of you are like, oh. And part of what we do too is like, yeah, here are all these practical things, but actually it's just about inviting people into what God is doing. That is the work that you are doing. You're saying, hey, 3rd John, it is good that we partner. It's good that we give so that we can join in with the work that they are doing. That is what you are doing, is building a team of people to come alongside you and join you in what God is doing. That's what we're talking about. So if you're really interested in 401ks, actually it's a 403b with us because you're ministers. That's that. I can talk about that. Or if you just want to talk about how do I invite people into what God is doing and partner with me in this, those, either way you want to go with that. The workshop today then is that how. So I'll be doing, I think I saw Jamie head out. He might have been going to prepare, but Jamie Harris and I, Jamie works with Satellite Gaming. We're going to talk about how do you, you're going to walk away with your type 5 in the comedy stand-up world, if you're familiar with that, a little 5 minutes, but a quick 5 minutes on how to cast vision for your ministry with somebody that invites them to participate with you. So we're going to talk about how you structure that, what that looks like, and then have you practice it. You're going to practice with one another and build it so that you can leave knowing, hey, I can cast a clear vision for what God is doing in a way that invites people in to come and be a part of what that looks like. And that's what we're going to build over our workshop today, so that you leave with that, leave with that type 5, ready to have a conversation with anybody, from your grandmother to somebody that doesn't even understand what D&D is, any of those things. How do you have that kind of quick 5-minute conversation? So.
Awesome. Yeah. And thank you to Reliant, one of our platinum sponsors here for NCMS. And so this is not possible without a handful of organizations who really believe in what you are doing in order to make, hanging out in a castle during the week a possibility. And so thank you, Reliant, and thank you, John, for believing in us. Yeah. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah. I'm going to steal the mic one more second. I know we're over. I, unfortunately, work scheduled a meeting for me this week at the same week as this, and I legitimately had a meeting with my CEO saying, can I please get out of it? And he was like, no. And so I have to leave early, unfortunately, after our session today. But Luke is hanging around here in the back. You all know and love him from LTN. He also partners with us, and we help kind of sustain that work and knows about that. So if you want to chat about that, and he can give you all the dirt on me, and maybe at least one nice thing, hopefully, to feel free to chat with him. Or also, and then the other last thing, my Discord handle is on, you have in your goodie bags, a little bag with Reliant talking about ripping packs. My Discord handle's on there. Please feel free to reach out. Also, you just got a bunch of random packs. Rip it, have fun, and if you don't like that thing, the boxes are in the back. You can go drop it off for somebody else that might, or find something else, or trade, or do all the things. So that's that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, John. I appreciate you. Yeah, give John a round of applause. Okay, we're heading out of the main hall. We're heading to workshops. A couple of quick orders of business. Reminder, you can go bathroom, grab a bottle of water, whatever. If you're coming back in here for our conversation around AI with Kenny, who's up here, it's going to be happening in this room. Have your laptop, your phone, whatever, your tablet you're going to be using. You're going to be doing some live coding and stuff. That's going to be happening in this room. In the bottom of Bighorn is where John and Jamie are going to be. Keep in mind, it's an hour and a half with a break and then another hour and a half. That is one workshop. So whichever one you pick now for part A, come back for part B for the same one, because they're going to build off of one another. Lastly, if you have not checked in yet, let's say you checked in and you got your key, that's fine. You haven't checked in with us for NCMS yet, please see Pastor Dalton back here. He's going to be checking the remainder of you in. And if you haven't grabbed your swag bag, someone lift up a bag that you got. Okay, yeah, we got a couple of them. They're over here, so make sure you grab that as well before you head to your workshop. That's going to do it for main session number 1. We'll see you back here for main session number 2 at 2 o'clock. Go to workshops.
just feel like I just see it everywhere, and so I'm like, I should probably just go take it in again. Maybe after like 30 of these, you'll finally recognize it. But yeah, just wanted to say hey. Have you been to this campus before? No, this is my first time here. Yeah. I'm actually here with Lux. So I work at a church in because like I talk to him stuff at work all the time. I don't know who you are. So Lux is really great. They've been loving his family well. My wife and I just had our first child. And so Lux is
I told Mark some of it is he has a PR problem because he's a litigator, not just in the digital stuff.
Yeah.
It's so right? Like it's this red herring that these fucking traditional church pastors totally ignore him.
This guy needs to
I just wanted to confirm for the breakout.
Yes. Another over the year. And then HDMI with audio.
Yes, I saw that I set it up, but I don't know where they
HDMI cord there.
Yeah, but I'm not sure
Can we do it through HDMI?
yeah, I'll have to set that up real fast.
Yeah, I will be.
I need to go through Alliance training, it's $20, and then they do like a crash course on how to do fundraising, and then they handle all your W-2s and stuff for donations. They're good guys. I know that you kind of sketched out the last time, but I've met with them multiple times. They're great. I mean, but he's a good dude. John's awesome. I've met with him 3-4 times, but I started with one idea, and now I'm probably transitioning to what I do. So
Do you know if there's power here too?
They did not set it up yesterday, so no, I will soon.
You will?
Yeah, I'm gonna add a power strip.
Okay, because I don't think I'll last.
Yeah, because they only plugged in that HDMI. So that's not gonna.
Sorry.
No, it's not a problem.
Hey! How are you?
Good, how are you?
said that, but also let me plug we have audio and
Let's see if this stuff works. Where is my audio? Do I not have audio?
what was I saying?
Well, my last Mac did not have that audio.
Alright, I'm gonna go up to see, make sure that we're getting the signal. Clear switcher. On both, yeah.
excited though, man. Yeah, I'll be around for the second.
Yeah, thanks.
I wanted to test some audio. If that's okay. I'm not getting anything yet on my end, so I was like, I should probably just go ahead and do this.
Let me go into my presentation.
Nope, not getting anything yet. I might have to. So switch it with the We have a